Kikanza Nuri-Robins will challenge us to examine the footprints we have left behind us, but more importantly, to be intentional about leaving tracks that will be useful, helpful, or touch people in some positive way. I'd be remiss if I did not talk about the beloved Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the greatest practitioners of intentional living of our time, whose spirit journeyed onward and outward yesterday. The influential Zen master was a peace activist who lived in exile from his native Vietnam after opposing the war in the 60s and became a leading voice in a movement he called engaged Buddhism, the application of Buddhist principles to political and social reform. Indeed, he influenced the American peace movement, urging Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to oppose the Vietnam War. Dr. King nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1967, writing to the Institute, "I do not personally know of anyone more worthy than this gentle monk from Vietnam. His ideas of peace, if applied, would build a monument to ecumenism, to world brotherhood, to humanity." Thich Nhat Hanh taught a mindfulness that focused not as a tool to get something else, but rather as a path to an ethical way of living. He said, "With the energy of mindfulness comes mindful consumption, mindful relationships, and ethical livelihood." You cannot separate mindfulness from mindful speaking, acting, working, and engaging in the world. True mindfulness is a path, an ethical way of living, and every step along that path can already bring happiness, freedom, and well-being to yourself and to others. Happiness and well-being are not an individual matter. We inter-are with all people and all species. As we contemplate our own intentional legacies, let us remind ourselves of what Thich Nhat Hanh wanted. He said, "Please do not build a stupa for me. Please do not lock my ashes in a vase, lock me inside, and limit who I am." I know this will be difficult for some of you. If you must build a stupa, though, please make sure you put on a sign that says, "I am not in here." In addition, you could put on another sign that says, "I'm not out there." And a third sign that says, "If I am anywhere, it is in the mindful breathing and in your peaceful steps." If I am anywhere, it is in your mindful breathing and in your peaceful steps.
Good morning. We have a new member in our community, and we are lighting the chalice this morning to welcome this new member. This is a UUU who will accompany us for Time for All Ages. This U has no name right now. Cassie and I are calling her Ywca. If you have a thought for a name, you might send Cassie an email with your suggestion. But in the name of Time for All Ages and our UUU, we light the chalice.
Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I'm Cassie Winters, your worship associate for this morning. We're delighted that you've come to connect with us in our online sanctuary. Wherever you are today, from communities across the LA Basin and around the United States and beyond, we are glad that you're here. If you're new to our community, please know that while our building is still closed for larger church services and events, we are still here, and there are many ways to learn more about us and become involved. We offer programs to serve the needs of our congregation and to be of service to the larger world, including broad religious education and personal development for people of all ages. We also join with other social justice advocates and community activism that contribute to the justice and harmony of our world. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person and encourages a search for individual truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence and believe that we are all connected to each other and to the interdependent web of life. Our beliefs are drawn from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient tradition. We are an open, affirming, and welcoming congregation, diverse in backgrounds, identities, spiritualities, and philosophies of life. We are also a dedicated peace site. We are united in our desire to create an inclusive, beloved community, to live the principles of our faith, and to serve the wider world. An important step on that journey is our acknowledgement that our church and the homes of many of our members are on traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Tongva people, who continue to live here and who have cared for these lands for thousands of years. We recognize and mourn the often deadly harm inflicted on the indigenous people of this country. We lift up their grace, resilience, and their relationship with these sacred lands. For announcements this morning. Detailed announcements are published in our weekly email on Thursdays. News is also available on our online newsletter at news@uusm.org. Our website at uusm.org is also a rich source of information about our church and upcoming services. Find our website and check out all the wonderful opportunities to explore interests, build community, and develop your spirituality.
El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración.
The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer.
Vivir juntos en paz.
To dwell together in peace.
Buscar el conocimiento en la libertad.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
Servir a la humanidad en comunión.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
Thus do we covenant with each other.
Do I start over? Good morning. We so apologize for that technical difficulty. We had a mic just run out of batteries. I'm sure you know what that feels like, right in the middle of a special game. Anyways, welcome to our Time for All Ages. And I'd like to give a special welcome to UUSM, our newest member of our Time for All Ages team. I know you worship associates will really enjoy that. I love books about time travel and stories. One of the things that they always tell you if you go back in time is to make sure you don't change anything. Otherwise, you may end up messing with the future. Like, maybe if you did this one little thing, then maybe your parents wouldn't meet and you would never be born. I saw this meme that said, when people talk about traveling to the past, they worry about radically changing the present by doing something small. But barely anyone in the present really thinks that they can radically change the future by doing something small. Whoa, I mean, that's deep. I mean, this basically means that if you hope to see great change in the world, you can make a difference now by just doing small things towards that change. When I was young, my Girl Scout troop planted hundreds of redwood seedlings in an area that needed some help. We were given our own little seedling to take home with us. This is what it looked like when I brought it home. There it is, tiny little thing. I planted mine in a small pot, and over the years, repotted it into bigger pots as it grew. Eventually, my parents let me plant it in the backyard. I looked online, and I saw that in February 2020, probably close to 40 years after I brought the little seedling home, the tree now looks like it's taller than a 3-story house. There it is. That's my house on the left that I grew up in. Look how tall that redwood tree is. That's amazing, right? A big redwood in the middle of suburbia. Awesome. The theme for this month is living with intention. Living with intention takes persistence and patience. It takes persistence and patience because living with intention is hard. Fulfilling our intentions often takes a long time, kind of like the time it takes for a tree to grow that big. And what happens when we try to do something that's hard? When we try to play a musical instrument, or fold origami, or memorize a poem? We have to take tiny baby steps. We have to remind ourselves not to give up. We have to remind ourselves that our goal can't be reached all at once. It needs to happen in tinier parts, baby steps. But the long road, or lots of smaller pots, of persistence and patience can lead to the big, beautiful redwood tree, or whatever you set your intention to.
We miss you here in the sanctuary. All over the Southland, churches that had opened their doors for their congregants have had to close them and send people home because the numbers are going up and up and up. So we heard that some of you had COVID, or you know someone who had COVID, or someone who was in your house has someone in their house with COVID. I am so sorry. So please, my friends, be careful. Upgrade your masks. Get tested. Order some of those free home kits before they run out. Practice safe distancing because we all want to move through the world more freely, and we want to see you back in the sanctuary. We have a couple of joys this morning. Ed Brand and Leslie Beauvais are overjoyed to welcome into the world their new grandson. Douglas Edward Brand was born last Sunday, January 16. They welcome our healing thoughts and prayers for their daughter-in-law, Jackie, who is recuperating from a challenging cesarean delivery. Do you miss the art wall? There's so many things to miss from being here on campus, but some lucky people are able to come through during the week or who have noticed in Forbes Hall. The art wall. Beverly Allison has not missed a beat. She continues to connect with artists and plans for shows. She says that she has plans for the entire year. She is very hopeful. I am hopeful too. She will have an exhibit up, a new one, each month. Right now, our year started with work from our own Tom Peters. So thank you, Beverly, and to all of the artists in our congregation who add to the beauty of our environment. And so we pause this morning to reflect on our lives and to take some silence as we meditate together. I invite you to think about your intentions for this year. One intention that Beverly announced was to mount a new show every month. What is your intention? I'm not talking about resolutions. I resolve to lose 15 more pounds, my COVID 15 plus the 10 I put on during the holidays. That's not mine. I didn't do that. But whatever not your resolutions, but what is your intention? How do you intend to walk in the world over the next 300 days, however many days are left? And so I invite you to think deeply and also to lift up, holding in the light, those who are sick, those who are shut in, those who have fewer choices, those who are making bad choices, those who are members of our community that we long to see, those who are members of our friends and family circles who are far away or who may be a bit too close, but for all of those people who are in your heart and in your life, let us lift them up as you focus on your intentions toward them and into the world. Our reading this morning is from several different authors. So we are reading contributions from Arthur Conan Doyle, Howard Thurman, E.E. Cummings, Kobun Chino Otogawa, David Steindl-Rast, and Ann Patchett. I should dearly love that the world would be ever so better for my presence, We can't all strike very big blows, yet even the little ones count for something. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best day and night to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. The more you sense the rareness and value of your own life, the more you realize that how you use it, how you manifest it, is all your responsibility. It is a big task, so naturally, we sit down for a while. So try pausing right before and right after undertaking a new action, even something simple like putting a key in a lock to open a door. Such pauses take a brief moment, yet they have the effect of decompressing time and centering you. The question is whether you choose to disturb the world around you, or if you choose to let it go on as if you had never arrived. For most of us, and for most of our lives, we focus on our futures. We ask, what are our goals? What's next? There's a point, however, when we don't ask what is next, but what is last, and what will last. That's when we begin to think about our legacy. What is the body of work for which you will be remembered? What are your footprints? And where will people find them? I think of footprints as my intentional legacy, an embodiment of the spirit of Sankofa. Sankofa is from the Akan tribe in Ghana, which is part of Western Africa, right on the hump there, and it means to fetch what is at risk of being left behind. The symbol of Sankofa is a mythical bird like this one, with its feet firmly planted moving forward and its head turned backwards. It's moving forward while looking backwards, the past serving as a guide for planning the future. Now, in many traditions, at gatherings, we offer a libation, which is a centering, welcoming, opening ceremony to a gathering. And with the libation, first, the ancestors are honored, the people who blaze the trails, the people on whose shoulders we stand, the people in whose footprints we walk. No matter where your ancestors are from, we all are descendants from survivors and thrivers because the weak ones died on the boat, or they survived the oppression of those who came on boats. But we would not be here if someone before us had not survived. So in libations, we honor the ancestors, and then we acknowledge the people who are present and all whom they represent. And then we speak to the future, the people who we are sending into the future and the ones that we will never meet. Now, for most of my life, I have focused on my future. From ages 25 to 65, I had a strategic plan with goals and objectives and action steps, and I worked them every year. Now, I'm at a different stage of life. I'm still moving forward, but not without this major strategic plan. I've become like the Sankofa bird. I'm looking backwards as I move forward, making sure that my footprints are visible and can easily be read by others. I am moving forward, and I am not forgetting from where I have come. I am not forgetting whose footprints I walked in and on whose shoulders I stand. This is what I call intentional legacy. In the past, I focused on my attention on my future. Now I'm focusing on my attention on the future, and I am helping to create for others. The difference is incremental, but a future that I'm building for myself to a future that I'm leaving for others. How often do you think about your legacy? Sometimes when people speak of legacy, they speak of a sense of entitlement. Their legacy gives them the privilege of membership in an organization or admission to an institution or club or an inheritance. They think of legacy in terms of what is due them. And then there's also what can be called institutional legacy. Businesses and organizations and the marks that they leave on their employees, on their customers, on their communities. So think about the institutional legacy of Amazon, or for you baby boomers, Bell Telephone, or the legacy of Apple or Macintosh or the Catholic Church. Another way people speak of legacy is their lineage of teachers. In academic circles, people refer to those with whom they have studied. One of my early mentors, Zandy Moore, had been a student of Margaret Mead. Now, were I still in the academy, I would use that connection occasionally. I am 1 degree of separation from Margaret Mead. I learned from someone that she taught. Spiritual teachers also speak of their legacy, the lineage of teachers to which they belong. So Reiki masters, Muslim imams, and other spiritual teachers refer to the line of teachers that they represent. For example, Jeremiah Callanday, our wonderful developmental minister, and I had the same teacher at the Star King School for Ministry. He was our professor, but he was not just the professor. He was a mentor and a guide and a friend, someone who is dear to us, someone who has left his mark on us. Our legacy as Unitarian Universalists gives us credibility, gives us recognition, gives us esteem. We point to well-known UUs, E.E. Cummings, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Louisa May Alcott, Pete Seeger, Dorothea Dix, Lewis Latimer, who's my relative. With individuals, when we speak of legacy, if we speak of legacy, we ask, what will people think of me? What will they remember about me? What am I leaving for the children and their children? So I'm at this stage of life where my focus has shifted from goals, plans, and future to footprints. People who study animal footprints are called trackers, and a term they use to describe the message in a footprint is called spoor. S-P-O-O-R, spoor. Spoor is the footprints and all the other stuff by which the progress of someone or something can be followed. So spoor may include the tracks, the scents, the scat, and broken foliage. Spoor is useful for discovering or surveying the kinds of animals that live in an area and what they have done. Now, taking that word into politics, it's sometimes used to look carefully to investigate what is actually going on in a sensitive situation, to look carefully at the spoor in the trails. So the goal is to reconstruct the complete story of events, just as a detective would reconstruct a crime scene. What was going on there? Was it hunting or was it just passing through? When did it pass by? Where was it going? Why was it going someplace? If someone was studying your spoor, what would they discover? What is most important to you? What are the values or the principles that you live by? What have you done in your life to reflect those values and principles? I'm not talking about pounding on a pulpit and lecturing to someone, but how have you walked in the world? What have your footprints been that reflect those values? What would we learn if your rules for life, they could be UU principles, the 10 Commandments, the Eightfold Path of Buddhism, what would we learn from your footprints that related to those principles? What if we compared the way you spend your time and your money to your values? Would there be a relationship? Would there be a positive correlation between how you spend your time and money and what you say you believe in? What patterns or principles are actually reflected in your daily living? Is that what you want to have remembered about you? Whatever stage you are in, you might consider the size and shape of your metaphorical footprints. Who will follow them? Who will walk in them? Where are they going? What path do they mark? What can someone learn by examining your footprints? Now, there is a class called Grace in Aging. And in Grace in Aging classes, participants plan for their last chapters of their life. Participants learn about durable power of attorney for health care, advanced directives, POLST, P-O-L-S-T, which is a document that you hang on your refrigerator with your doctor's signature and phone number and what have you in case of a health care emergency. Now, one member of our congregation, Carol Ring, has designed a refrigerator card for us. And so you can email her and get a copy of this card that has basically answers a question, who are we supposed to call? If you're on the floor and you can't get up and we need to call somebody, who are the people we need to let know? We know, call 911, but then who else do we call? So in these Grace and Aging classes, you learn about these things, and sometimes people write their own obituaries. It's legacy work that's done in these classrooms. That's the main thing after you work with the forms, because it answers the question, what do you want said about you, and what are you doing about that? Now, I have two brothers who've had what I call pre-memorial celebrations. And that is big parties where there was music and readings and speakers, all of which were focused on the brother and his accomplishments and contributions in the world. One died about a week after his pre-memorial celebration. The other one is still living to share his gratitude. But they both got to hear their legacies described. So leaving an intentional legacy means living a life of intention and attention. So what will be the shape of your footprints? What might be said at your pre-memorial celebration? What stuff do you have that others are going to want? And what are people going to point to and say, that reminds me of you? The forces of mind and body shape your shadow. The nature, the size of your shadow, the sun, of course, determines where it falls. But forces of mind and body shape your shadow. I believe it is the force of the Spirit the you, the deep you within you, that is your intentional legacy in the spirit of Sankofa. It is this spirit, the force of this spirit, that shapes your footprints. So moving forward, as you are looking behind you, make sure that you move slowly enough to take a look at your footprints.
We come together for more than ourselves. This month, we share 50% of our offering with the YWCA LA. Founded in 1894, the YWCA Greater Los Angeles is a women's membership movement built on the mission of eliminating racism and empowering women. They touch over 100,000 individuals annually through various programs that include affordable childcare, after-school youth programs, economic empowerment, job training and housing, and sexual assault crisis services. Additionally, they address racial justice and public policy, which are intertwined through all aspects of programs and service areas. They care for our community's women and their families. Today, you also have the opportunity to give to the Spirit Level Foundation Fund. Last church year, we received a grant from the Spirit Level Foundation to cover the costs of enhancing the sanctuary's technological infrastructure and hiring someone to help with the live streaming. The foundation will match our fundraising dollar for up to $10,000 to cover these new expenses. We hope you will contribute to this critical fund and help us extend the ways that we can serve and reach our congregation and its communities. There are several ways to give. Through our website, UUSM.org, by clicking the Make a Donation button, or by scanning the QR code on your screen with your smartphone. Texting 844-982-0209 on your smartphone with the amount that you'd like to donate, followed by the code GCC for generous congregation contribution, PLG for your member pledge, or SLF for the Spirit Level Fund grant. You can still also make out a check to the church for any of these fundraising goals. Your generous contributions support the work of communities we all hold dear. Thank you much for your generosity.
Looking back on the shining sun, reaching through time. Years went by so soon, and our lives are gone into the distance. Footprints, footprints. Were you there? Were you there beside me? Were you there in the darkest hour when I stumbled and fell, and the rain washed over me. Were you there? Were you there? In my need, come to me. Guide my way and strengthen me. I am tired and lonely, and I tremble walk with me all my days, guide my steps through endless ways, Now I see you holding me. You were always with me, and our footprints are together into the
Well, this service is almost over, and we couldn't have brought this service to you without the help of lots and lots of people. So I want to thank our worship associate, Cassie Winters, and for her bringing the newest member of our community, UUSM, or whatever she ends up being named. We have a wonderful, wonderful tech team who are all volunteers who work really, really hard to master the new technology, because something new comes out seems like almost every single week. And so we thank you so much, tech team, for all that you are doing. The musicians are still singing in the garden. I can't wait until they can come back into the sanctuary. But we hear you even when we cannot see you, and we thank you, musicians, for the beauty that you bring to this service. Now, some of you had started to come back. You were waiting. People have been holding their breath, waiting to get back into the sanctuary. That's not going to happen soon, so I would ask you to do this. Call someone that you miss, and tell them to come watch with you. Tell them to please watch. Tell them that how wonderful the services are. Tell them something that will keep them connected. Tell them something that says, we miss you, we notice you, we recognize that it's not the very best or may not be the ideal for you, but we know that you are part of this community. And then there are many who come and who can only come because we are able to broadcast this service. So we thank you for continuing to come, and we want to reassure you that even when we are back in the sanctuary, we will continue to have hybrid services. So right after the service closes and we extinguish the chalice flame, we will be inviting you to join us for our Zoom coffee hour. So at the Zoom coffee hour, you'll get to talk. You'll get to see many of the people who come to worship this way, and there will be small groups. So if you want a smaller group, or you'd like a conversation with a couple of people, the tech team who runs the Zoom meetings will be able to put you in a small group. If you would like to be in a small group to talk about the sermon, we have a small group for that as well. So thank you all for coming. Know that we are very, very grateful for all that you have done to contribute to this worship. And so as we extinguish the candle, the flame, we extinguish this flame, carrying the flame of this UU congregation and this UU movement in our hearts as we move out into the world, letting our values, our principles guide our way as we create footprints for those who will follow us.